Look at all that money. Look at all that money. Yeah, the money that they've spent. Take another look and take some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, 'cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for him. Well, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, it's time for hemp.
Yes, it is. It is time for hemp. Thank you for tuning in to the big broadcast today. As always, we are focused on the amazing cannabis hemp plant and all the wonderful things that it can do for all of our creature comforts and help to save the planet and build a brighter tomorrow. And anytime you happen to hear the word joint on the big broadcast, we ask that you fire up and hit your pipes, your bottles, your vaporizers, and take time for hemp. Go to timeforhemp.news if you get a chance, and you will find lots of music downloads, free podcasts you can download, videos you can watch and share with your friends, blog postings, all about how important it is to re-legalize this plant and prohibition against this plant and make it part of the farm community's cash crop and make it part of the industrial manufacturing base so that we can create jobs in our own backyard. I don't know if you've noticed, but I am a little passionate about this plant because this plant really is a gift from God. And if you don't believe it, study it yourself, and you'll learn that even the seed, the molecular structure of the seed is 92%, maybe even 93% equal to that of the molecular structure of human blood. This plant is good for your body, good for your spirit, good for your soul, and good for a conversation, which we're having today with my joint host, Al Byrne. Hey, Al, how you doing?
I'm doing very nicely. Thank you very much. I hope everybody else is. And I'd just like to compliment our band today. I thought that the music that accompanied our theme song was just really, really nice. So my compliments to my technical staff. That was wonderful. I hope you guys are paying attention to our music, by the way. It's self-created by Casper, and it always changes. If you watch these programs, you'll see that our the pictures change, the music changes. We're pretty cool here. And we talk about cannabis, and today we're going to do that. Casper's holding up a book I wrote, author of For Country and Cannabis. It has a lot to do with my experience with cannabis in the U.S. Navy. I was a Navy officer for a quarter century, and then my work with cannabis plant, turning it into a plant and turning it into a discussion of medicine as opposed to being some sort of killer weed. And that's what the book's all about. It covers about 40 years of history. And there's other kinds of history going on. And my joint host that I'm going to introduce, Al Graham, he's been creating his own oral history with some video stuff for a long time too. So what you got here between the three of us is, 100 years of education that we're trying to pass along to you guys. I hope you enjoy it. Where's Al Graham? Come on, Al.
I'm right here, Al.
All right.
Yes, exactly. All the audio and the video recordings that we've done over the last 16 years. It is history. It's an advocacy history. It's a history of the patients, their stories, and what they've dealt with to get to where we are today.
Yeah, and you've covered cannabis also, the legality of it in Canada as well as the medical. Now you're into psychedelics, mushrooms. You
Yes.
cover more ground, I guess, than Time for Hemp does.
Yeah. PACE, the PACE Radio Network or PACE Network, we cover both psychedelics as well as cannabis. Both of them are natural, can be natural plants that can make a difference in healing people. So there's no reason why not to cover them, especially what we're seeing in the news these days when it comes to the psychedelic end of things. The mushrooms and everything is just exploding, the information
Yeah,
and the knowledge is out there.
it's a good
Well,
thing.
one of
Yeah.
the things too I find to have been very interesting is that each of us have been able to sit on the front row and watch the cannabis hemp movement's history unfold right in front of our eyes. Al Byrne, with your involvement with National Normal and getting it together and up and flying, and Al Graham, you watching the Mark Emery trials and tribulations, and watching Michelle Rainey's trials and tribulations, and watching Canada make the first changes, I think, global. A lot of the medical and industrial hemp aspects has put you on the front row. That has been just really astonishing and given all of us an opportunity to meet so many interesting and loving and amazing people. I have been so blessed to be part of the hemp movement because the hemp movement is my family.
Yeah. And today our guest is basically like me, been involved in the cannabis community for a long time, has seen a lot of stuff, the advances and the movement. He's been involved with it right along with a lot of the other patients here in Canada in order to make change. He's been organizing grassroots events, and I'll get him to tell us all about those. As well, he's been involved politically. He's also a business owner. He's involved in a cannabis business association. We'll learn more about that. So instead of me explaining, we'll just bring him right on to the show. We'd like to welcome Stephen Stairs to Time for Hemp. G'day, Stephen.
Hey,
How you doing?
welcome.
Hi, guys. How's it going? Can you hear me?
Good.
Groovy,
Good,
sure
good.
can. Welcome.
Perfect. All right. Welcome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem. Now, we like to get things started normally by finding out, some information about our guests, because not everybody will, there's lots of people around the world that haven't heard of Stephen
I don't know
Stairs,
who the hell he
unlike
is.
us here in Canada, right? So why don't we start off by finding out how you got involved with cannabis, and we'll go from there.
Sure. You make a good point. I hope not everybody knows me because that would be a little creepy. But no, I mean, you're right. I mean, Al doesn't know who I am. I'm just a regular guy from Winnipeg, which is like in the heart of the prairies of Canada. It's cold here. We don't have a lot to do. And I decided to advocate for cannabis when I was at the University of Manitoba. I was taking political sciences there, getting my degree. And I just happened to be on the student council. And at the same time, I was going through a vision loss problem. I'm legally blind. I have been since birth. It's degenerative. So during that same time period, someone just had mentioned to me casually, this was 2009. So not the infancy of medical cannabis in Canada, but definitely in the lower numbers amounts for sure, before it kind of came cool to have a medical cannabis card. Someone had actually just mentioned it to me that I should try to see if I can get medical cannabis for my eyes. And I kind of laughed at it. I'm like, whatever. And then I filled out the paperwork and just kind of casually mailed it off and hoped for the best. And, several months later, it came back in the mail and I was a medical cannabis person. And at that point, some sort of responsibility almost washed over me to say, well, if I have the opportunity to consume cannabis in public, to grow it myself at home, to talk about it openly with my kids, all these kinds of things that kind of came with the legal medical kind of overview that I was, had this piece of paper in my pocket that kind of gave me this allowance. I took it and ran with it because I figured it was my job. Because at the time in Canada, there were not, at the time in 2009, the statistics were about 5,600 medical cannabis patients across the country. I mean, the numbers have hit over 400,000 in recent years, but at that time, very small numbers. It was not, it was before even clinics came around offering this roving kind of mentality across the country, signing people up for licenses. It was very small amounts of people, I should say. And it was even up to me to almost to find out that community even existed. And honestly, that's how I met Al. I mean, Al Graham is one of those guys who, when I first started going online and seeing what was kind of, is there people on here that think like this? Al was one of those people that popped up. So it just shows that like-minded people back then were still looking for answers and still trying to give guidance to people who maybe weren't in their shoes. And that's, there's not a lot that I can do in the world. And I don't mean that in pity sense. I mean that in visual limitation sense because of my vision loss. So whatever I can do, I try to do it the best of my abilities. And that means...
I got to ask a question here. Every human has, the ability to deal with certain aspects that come against them. But to be quite honest, to lose your eyesight is very, very, very frightening. I don't care who you are. And
Amen.
And the adjustments are just amazing to deal with. And I would think that you would have your hands full trying to readjust to a sightless world and readjust to having to be a sightless person and to go through life in a different path now, to be able to also, on top of all of that, undertake becoming a bullseye, a target for every anti-cannabis individual, anybody who wants to put people like us behind bars. I mean, it's just like you're just saying, oh, I don't have enough problems to deal with. Please, give me more.
That's a good way of looking at it, actually. But here's the thing: is that you do make a good point, and I mean, not to minimize, but everybody has a cross to bear of some kind. Okay, and whether or not you want to argue whose is heavier, that's not my beef right now. But if I can take my struggle and turn it into the ability to stop someone else from struggling in the future because of what I was able to go through and what I was able to show them or have educated or policies or laws changed because of those motions, then sign me up. That's my job.
Well,
is to eliminate the stress on someone else.
No, you got an amazing attitude. I don't think a lot of people would do that. I know I'd be somebody who would just tell the world to go to hell. I got to deal with my own crap now. So God bless you for what you're doing.
I got to go back.
You also got involved with business. You got involved with teaching people about this. I mean, I'll hush up and let you go on with your journey, but I was just kind of like blown away. How do you undertake becoming a target for everybody to shoot at while you're standing there in the middle of the highway with no vision?
Well, let me just interject. I couldn't respect Stephen more for taking that position, and especially as a patient, just well done, sir. The other part of this is I started Patients at a Time years ago, and I was joined by the legal patients who were getting their medicine from the federal government every month, who said that it wasn't a medicine at the same time. And they stood up, these 5 people, and I thought risked their medicine, if you will, their health, and challenged their federal government, just like you have done. So I just want you to know that in that book we reference here for Country and Cannabis, I call those people heroes. Sir, you are a hero.
Amen. You certainly are. So I salute you.
I just want to be someone who changes the world for my kids.
Anyway, I didn't mean to side rail you, so you're having a happy la trip down.
Yeah, no, don't worry. No, just don't worry. No sidetrack. Don't worry. Yeah. So long story short is that just kind of where it sparked, and I got my medical cannabis license, and I was at the U of M doing this political thing, and it snowballed to the point where one day, excuse me, at the University of Manitoba here in Winnipeg, we have it's about 50,000 people on campus at an average time. They have a center kind of court area, and I was able to pull some strings because I was on the university council, like the student, government basically. And I was able to set up a table in like this center court area, where the food court is and the libraries and all the stuff where the traffic is. and I set up a table full of weed, like 6 different types of weed. I had about an ounce piled up on the table, and little cards, that said a half little triangle piece of paper, says whatever kind of card it was, marijuana, White Widow, and then it would just go down the next list, and people kept coming up to me and they were like, "Is this real weed?" I'm like, "Of course it's real weed. Why would I show you fake weed? That doesn't. I would be lying to you about education." And that got the news down here. And then when the local news media picked up on what I was doing, I got a lot of support. I'm not going to lie. Like the mainstream media here in Canada, we don't really have the same kind of politicalization as there's some other countries do. But here in Canada, at least, to be on any sort of a media was a great start. And I had, quote, conservatives or whatever's on the other sides, on both sides of news, supporting what I was doing. So that's how I knew I was doing something right.
Cool.
Because reporters, like journalists, are great. Like what you guys are doing is journalism, right? It's advocating for something, telling the truth, getting the stories out there. And that's so important towards democracies. We need that to happen. I mean, that's how we create social change, whether or not it's, protesting or it's boardroom meetings or whatever, PTA meetings. There has to be that advocacy for something. And when the journalists and people like yourselves tell that story, it allows to educate the masses. And sometimes educating the masses is how you get that social change. And with cannabis specifically, you had to defeat, decades and decades of fear mongering and reefer madness and all these other kinds of things. So to have the news media, to have, like I ran for office, I ran for the Green Party, to have a platform to run for office and to say these things publicly with democracy protecting me, these were all ways of conveying a message to the public saying, hey, you're being lied to. Cannabis is not the demonization plant that you want to say it is.
All right. You were involved. You ran for office. You ran for the Green Party. That gave you an opportunity to speak publicly about cannabis in order to get other people involved.
Mm-hmm.
And did you find that by speaking out, like you mentioned, you had both or all political parties when it comes to people-wise, come out and reach out and ask questions in order to make change, and that got you involved in the political end of things to try to make change. And that's some of the things that we've talked about over the years as advocates, and that is to get involved in order to make change and to run for office, and many have, including yourself, Stephen.
Yeah, I mean, Al, here's the thing: is that I'm one of those simple believers. Like, if you're not going to vote, don't complain. Right? Like that's how it goes.
Right.
So there's a civic obligation there from anybody in any country that if you have the opportunity to vote democratically, take it because it's your voice.
Yeah.
Right. So
and don't bitch if you didn't vote. Shut up. Don't bitch.
Right. Exactly. You have no position to complain about what's going on if you don't want to participate in it. 100%. And the extension of that is if you really want to have change happen and you want to see things move in a direction specifically towards forward progression and whatever, social cause you have, then it's your job to get more involved than just simply casting a vote. It's encouraging the right candidates. It's running yourself. It's showing up to meetings or debates or whatever the case might be and asking those questions. One of the things I got here in Winnipeg, there was a mayoral election, and because of my friendly, relationship with the journalists over here at CBC, which is like the Canadian Broadcasting Company, they had a debate going on TV, about all the candidates. And because I was, had some friends, I called and I pulled, and they were able. The last question of the debate was, this was in 2018. Pot was just about to be legalized here, and it asked them, if pot becomes legalized next week, or when it does, they should say. Will you use it? And it was from this question's from Stephen Stairs. And that's just because I knew that they were all on stage. I knew that they would be presented with this question. And I picked up the phone and I called a journalist and I was like, get me in to ask one of these questions. And I hammered them home because that's part of being like holding the feet to the fire of the people in charge. Yep. That's your job as a citizen. That's 100% your job. If you have someone who says they're in whatever place saying, hey, I'm your elected official, then it's your damn job to make sure that whatever they're doing is what you want them to do. Now, that
Well,
may
yeah,
not be
but it's
individually, but
becoming
collectively.
becoming so much harder these days because of all the walls they put around them and all the security they got around them. And I don't
Well,
care. No matter what question you ask, they will only answer the question they want to answer. I mean, you can say, so are you for legalizing cannabis? And they'll say, well, there's so many traffic problems out there that we need more red lights. It's like,
yeah. There's always a talking point.
We don't need green lights.
Yeah.
so they
I love
answer
it.
your question, but it's not the question that you asked. That's all.
Yeah.
No, that's right. They'll give you the question that they want to answer. Yeah. I hear you. But even that, knowing that a politician is giving you a nonsense answer. Okay, great. It's nonsense. Hold them accountable to it next time, whether or not that's with your vote or with, you protesting their home office or whatever you have to do. Accountability and goes across political spectrums, it goes across, even for parenting, if you want to be effective, you have to be engaged. And that's the simplest part of it. So democracy is not a luxury that everybody has across the world. And when a country has an opportunity to be a leader, like Canada took an amazing step, you could argue the political reasons for it, but we decided hey, we're going to legalize pot federally. We're going to see what happens in the social experiment. And so far, pretty damn good. Now, the politics of it, all the policies, I should say, are debatable. Al and I could probably go about that for hours, but we got it. And now it's our job to work it.
What I want to know is, and this is just because it's me, I am a huge Bob Marley fan.
Oh yeah.
So I'm wondering, and this you don't have to answer this, but I'd just like to know to give me an idea about next session we do. What's your favorite Marley song?
Redemption song.
Nice.
Yeah, I could do all the classic ones. Jammin', Three Little Birds, all those kind of ones. Could You Be Loved? But the passion that comes when he's singing the acoustic version on that, it was like some beach in Kingston, and he's singing, and it's just, I don't understand the oppression of groups of people, people want to assume they do, but when I can hear the oppression he felt from the lyrics, that song seals the deal for me. He's my hero.
I always thought it would be interesting to hear Bob Marley sing with the Temptations.
Ooh. Good vibes. Good vibes.
So you've got an organization that you work with, and you've got a business. So how do you balance the two? And tell us about the two.
Well, I balance the two because I eat, sleep, and breathe cannabis to the point where I'm sure it annoys my family, but that's okay. They're supportive still. So being the advocate that I am, and the kind of unique skill set that I've developed over 15 years of advocating for cannabis, I kind of parlayed that into, after legalization, starting a nonprofit advocacy group for the legal industry. I just happened to be the person in the province who could speak on the topics most proficiently and with the most knowledge. Especially with historical context. So it just kind of developed into, after legalization, Manitoba has a very small cannabis community to begin with. It's not as established as some of the other larger Canadian cities that they're known for, Vancouver or Toronto or even just BC as a whole or Ontario as a whole. Much bigger communities than my small prairie province here. But it developed, and it turned into something where this cannabis community needed to have a voice, not just to get legalized, but then to, no pun intended, but to weed out the problems of legalization once it happened.
Good point.
Yeah. So it just became that's how it happened. It would be weird for me to have advocated for so long, and then once, it's like a parrot. I spent all this time helping the pregnant lady, and then all of a sudden she gave birth to cannabis, and then I was like, see ya. No, that's not a very good, responsible parent. I gotta stick around and make sure this cannabis baby gets raised properly, Right. So, and we're 8 years in. We have a cannabis toddler, or a cannabis, infant, not infant. I guess it would be like a young child now. Oof, that analogy is getting old. but it takes responsibility, it takes looking after for it. And with legalization, there were lots of nuances and problems. Manitoba specifically, we had our federal laws said you were allowed to grow cannabis at home up to 4 plants, but for some reason Manitoba was like, no, we won't go with that.
Yeah.
Okay. So it
No.
ended up being a long. Well, now they allow it. So I mean, I don't. We got there. But yeah, so those are just simple, like, little examples of the nuances that were still needed to be fought for. A lot of people thought cannabis, you got legalized. Okay, great. Now everything's hunky dory and, free love and Bob Marley on every street corner, right? I wish. But it's not like that. It was still very complicated. The licensing processes, the fees, the taxes, the restrictions, the advertising, the marketing, everything had a problem. Okay. So it needed a voice behind it. And I just kind of fell into that role here. We advocated specifically. One of our biggest wins was we had the Manitoba government remove something they called a social responsibility fee.
All right.
It's just another way of them taxing cannabis.
Right.
And they labeled it as to take care of the social problems that would come with cannabis. Well, there were no social problems. The sky didn't fall. People weren't murdering each other in the street. If anything, you just raised tax money. That's all you did. So we argued for them to remove it, and they ended up doing it, and then gave rebates back to retailers.
Oh, wow.
Which,
how cool!
Yeah. Let's talk about sometimes being a pain in the ass, or pain in the butt, I should say, of the government. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Totally works when it comes to bureaucracy, because bureaucracy is nothing more than paperwork, and the less paperwork for someone, the better for them. So they usually try to jump through the hoop the same one you're trying to get through, but we have different intentions as to why we're jumping. So I have no problem manipulating my knowledge into advocacy strengths for the industry, and it's worked great. And through that, I ended up, because I'm disabled and because my income earning potential is very limited, based on a couple factors regarding my disability and things like that, my limitations. But I'm cognizant of that. So I'm always taking steps to circumvent the hurdles that are placed in front of me by generalized society norms, and let's work around them. So in that case, I just started turning my knowledge of cannabis into a business. So I've helped people get their licenses set up for their retail store. Awesome, fun times, lots of paperwork, but super fun for me because it's like literally, how cool is it that you can just have a legal store that sells weed?
So what you help, you facilitate with information that helps people open up businesses. You're an advisor. Is that what you are? You're an advising company that people contact. Yeah. How does this work?
Precisely.
Hang on, Stephen. Hang on. Now you described all this stuff. It sounds good, but is there a name to it as far as what you're doing, or the all this advocacy work that you're doing and helping the businesses?
I guess it would probably make sense if I mentioned that. That's my bad, everybody. It's called the Cannabis Business Association of Manitoba. I tried to go with something really simple to make the name kind of self-evident as to what we do. Mm-hmm. The mission focus is to really advocate for the industry, whether or not you're a producer, a processor, a retailer, even the ancillary businesses that go along with that. So the fertilizer companies, the packaging companies, the label companies, all those, even the marketing guys need advocacy for sometimes. So it's an all-encompassing kind of attitude towards what we do holistically for the community, but it's not always the same thing, if that makes any sense. So sometimes like a certain retailer may have a problem versus, which is a very micro issue, rather than the industry having a problem, which is a very macro issue. So it's fun. I like tackling whatever, challenges they give us.
So who's helping you in the medical community, in the education of your citizens up there? Down here, I want to compliment the nurses of the United States of America, because when informed of what cannabis could do medically, their enthusiasm, their support was terrific and remains so to this day. Are the Canadian nurses of any help in this regard?
They really weren't. initially. There was nurses within the associations who were taking it upon themselves to put their careers on the line, to become advocates for patients, to even be, some of them in the field happen to even maybe be supplying patients with
Put a
medical
date on.
cannabis because they.
Put a date on that. When did that start to happen? When these 2000 and
Yeah, I knew someone who was a medical professional nurse specifically, and he was a nurse in 2008 when I first met him, and he had a
okay.
side hustle hooking up patients with good cannabis because they needed it, and the government would allow good access. So there were those ethical people at the beginning, but from an association standpoint, nah, no. There were very. I mean, we were lucky. We had places like Normal. You had places like the cannabis culture group, Mark Emery, Jody, Jeremiah, all those kind of. I mean, I heard Michelle Rainey's name mentioned earlier. Like those were the loud voices within Canada, at least when I got involved. I mean, Matt Murnaugh was a great one, but associations were harder to get, especially. I mean, I can't speak for Al's region, in Ontario or anything like that. Maybe where there was a more established community, or at least a bigger number of them to be a group. But here in Manitoba, I mean, we're known for having a very uh, slow approach towards progression. So it wasn't coming from institutions. I do remember once that Doctors Manitoba, which is like the governing body of the physicians in Manitoba, they came out and said, cannabis has potential for, these medical benefits, we're encouraging the studies and that kind of thing. But it was far and few between. And that's where it took the onus of individuals to form groups and community organizations and these nonprofits and even dispensaries to take care of patients when the government wasn't.
Stephen, write a book just like I did, and put in the book all those people that are in your head that help the situation, so they won't be forgotten. So let's upgrade. The
Amen.
nurses didn't help you. I assume the doctors were vacant here. So that was then. This is now. Is anything better?
Uh, yes and no. I mean, I think the stigmatization regarding medical cannabis is definitely waning. If you would consider it from a social acceptance standpoint, purely, and not from a policy standpoint, but just from the way Canadians feel about medical cannabis, we definitely have, I think, hit a threshold where I don't think we're going to encourage a lot more people. Right now, I mean, I don't know the numbers, but I would say it's probably about 70% of the people I meet that are already sold. Do you know what I'm saying? That are already like, yeah, cannabis helped my grandma, or yeah, it's helping my uncle, or whatever, in some way, and they've already been socially exposed to it, and they're like, yeah. I think the other 30%, I don't think you'll ever convince them. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think they're already established in their ways, and they're not. I mean, we're not trying to convince people of the benefits. The benefits speak for themselves. So eventually, one of those people who is total anti-cannabis will have a relative or have a family member that goes through some chemotherapy or goes through some, God forbid, some MS or whatever the case might be, and has relief and has that catalyst to say, wait, maybe my stigmatization, maybe my demonization, maybe my fear-mongering approach has been wrong.
Well, here's what agitates me is they're lies that kill. I mean, if the big pharma, big business, and big government had not hidden the truth, people's lives would have been longer and it would have had a better quality of living. And because of their lies, we had to stand in the doorways and watch those that we love lose the battle to cancer, lose the battle to so many other things. And so these lies are lies that kill.
100%.
And we've got to stop the lies that kill.
Yeah. Too bad there's not a class action lawsuit we could take the government to court on for that one, huh?
Yeah, it's strange. It's strange to me. Both of our governments, United States and Canada, have this reluctance on a federal level to say cannabis is a medicine, at least politically, because I think our countries both have said cannabis is a medicine in reality. As I understand it, veterans that need cannabis as part of their therapeutic protocol in Canada are allowed to have it.
Yeah.
They get it for
Yeah,
free.
the government pays for it. Yeah.
Yep, they get it for free, and I think they even some of them they'll deliver it to your door by FedEx or UPS,
Yeah.
which the government actually prefers. So that to me, if you're going to take the most revered class in your country, your veterans, and provide cannabis for them, I think that's a big time statement about whether or not it's a medicine. Then so come down to the United States. Well, I'll tell you, I had a lot to do with this, but in 2010, all right, we're going back in July, it'll be 16 years. The Veterans Health Administration of the United States of America declared cannabis in writing a medicine, and a medicine that should be allowed for veterans in their care, the VHA care, the VA care, just bring it in as part of the protocol.
I remember having you and Michael on as a guest on the show when that happened. That was so exciting to watch that unfold.
Well, it's still exciting, and the point is, of course, the veterans of Canada and the veterans of the United States, as far as cannabis in that community, that military community, are being traded good. Well, wait a minute. If it's good enough for our vets, why isn't it good enough for Al? Why isn't it good enough for my neighbor? He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Why can't
you
he
shouldn't
have?
You shouldn't have to put your life on the line defending your rights to have your rights enacted.
But we do, and my question is to your government and mine: what the hell is wrong with you? It's either a medicine or it's not. And if Manitoba's politicians or who's ever in your way can go up against your own military medical people and can, who's right there? Well, I'll go with the medics.
Yeah.
Not the lawyers.
Go with the veterans.
Yeah, I would use this veteran argument as what I'm trying to get that enthusiasm, right? But I would use this veteran argument against the naysayers, the deniers, that 30%. Look, if it's good, you don't want our veterans to have this all of a sudden. You know better than the veterans. That's a hell of a question to have asked to you. And anyway, my recommendation.
There should only be one answer for that. Yeah.
I just trying to. That's me thinking, and we're in the same business. All four of us.
And I'll quickly jump in here, and then we'll let Al Graham ask the last question of the hour. But I know for a fact that cannabis saves lives, because when I was going through my divorce, I had really contemplated hiring someone to murder my ex-wife, and then I sat down and smoked a joint and decided, nah. I won't do that. I'll just go through the divorce instead. So cannabis saved her life.
That's honest.
Well, I didn't expect that story to come popping out. Jeez. Stephen, let's go back to your. You had mentioned earlier in one of the breaks that you had a male who greatly influenced your work or how to take it forward. Who was that?
Yeah, I learned a lot of what it means to stand up for cannabis, no matter what people think, from a LEAP member, actually, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, a guy named William Vandergraff. Mm-hmm. He was a 25-year vet of the Winnipeg Police Force, homicide, everything, street gangs. He saw the worst parts of society. And, he was able to take all that trauma that he saw, that was exposed to, and turn it into something good. When you can see a fight, let's say between gang members, who are stabbing people for territory because of drugs. It takes a certain type of an approach and way of thinking to say, I'm not going to demonize these people for what they're doing. Yes, they may be doing something wrong legally or ethically or morally. But why are they doing it? And that's where Bill came in and said, look, this is about prohibiting simple drug access. I mean, when you have drug problems on the street and you have, prohibiting people from consuming cannabis for simple reasons, like just trying to make their day better, you're creating a whole new realm of criminals that don't need to be in the criminal justice system. So Bill took that and said, look, I'm going to be a cop. I'm going to wear the cops say legalize drugs and then ask me why. He wore that shirt everywhere. And every time I would see him wearing that shirt, I was like, this guy is putting his career as an advocate for the good of the people, protect and serve, and saying, look, I can do all that stuff. I can be the man who you respect and cherish and adore for the things I've done for your community. But I'm also going to stand up and say, I'm right about this. And he did it. And he taught me a lot about doing what you believe in.
I had a chance to meet him a few times and conversate with him, and he also had a very charming sense of humor.
Oh, yeah, Phil will make you laugh. That's for sure.
Yeah, the entire LEAP organization was remarkable, did great work. There were individuals like you're talking about that's shown even better, but those are a great bunch of people. You know,
and he's in our archives too. If people want to learn about him.
Oh yeah,
he's been interviewed in our on our program about 7, 8, 12, 15, 20 times. And, like I said, he's got a very wicked sense of humor and a very charming individual to be around, and very positive individual. And you're right, quite inspiring, very inspiring.
Steve, we just have a few minutes left, and I want you to we want you to get that address up again on the screen of the nonprofit work you do. But we've got a couple of minutes left. What's your plan? Where are you going with medical cannabis in Canada over the next near future?
Well, I think there's two things I'm really working on. One is specifically here in Manitoba, we don't have access to medical cannabis consumption within provincial parks, which seems like really weird. You can go and you can drink and you can yell and you can scream and do all those kinds of things, even fireworks, but you can't take your medicine, which is really weird. So that's one thing I'm really hoping the government will change this coming session in the legislature here in Manitoba. And one of the things I'm trying to do as well, that's not specifically medical, but would benefit patients across the country, at least here in Manitoba when they come, would be consumption space legislation. That's one of those lacking policy moves that we never really got in Manitoba.
Mm-hmm.
You can sell cannabis, you can consume it at home, but you can't consume it anywhere in public. You can't consume it at a store or like a lounge or anything like that. So it kind of defeats the purpose of bringing cannabis out from the shadows and normalizing it. So if we can't, and then we're not even talking about, if you're a renter and they won't allow you to consume cannabis in your lease agreement because they can still do that apparently. So, there's a whole lack of access across the board. So consumption space legislation would at least enable there to be like an even playing field where you could even incorporate some of the social norms of day-to-day society in a cannabis vibe. So where instead of going to watch, let's say, the next great hockey game, you're not doing it in a sports bar where, guys are slamming beers back and forth. And don't get me wrong, you're all welcome to slam beers. But I would like to be able to sit in a place where I'm not listening to people slam beers and I'm having a conversation over a volcano on the table, while I'm watching the game. Because that's a different culture. And we should all be allowed to explore our cultures, especially if they're not hurting anybody. So once we have that normalization happening, I think we'll have a drop down in the, let's call it the demonization again, of how cannabis is treated amongst society, because it is like everything else. You can go get it at a bar or at a sports game or whatever. You can have that option to get cannabis instead.
Well, it makes you a loving individual. I keep saying if the whole world would just smoke a joint at the same time, war would stop.
100%.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good thing to switch over to, Stephen, or to add to what you're doing. The lounges, 100% agree with that. People spend $1 million, $1.5 million on a condo that they own, but the association won't allow them to consume cannabis in their own home.
Yes, it's absurd.
That's right.
Yeah.
I find a lot of people down here in the United States, Stephen, use the word stigma, that they are still overcoming the stigma. And that's a tough one. You keep on it. You're doing great.
I appreciate that, guys. I really do. I one of the really simple things I like to do is wear a hat like this or a sweater like this, because people automatically assume I have a certain type of personality. And then when I have a conversation with them and engage them about why I'm wearing this kind of sweater, blows their mind.
T-shirts are sidewalk signs that are mobile.
Well, wait a minute. I got to brag. I don't know how we're going to do this, but am I close enough to do you see what that says? It's a little cannabis leaf,
Yeah.
and it says your government is lying.
Ah, nice.
Nice.
So yeah, don't be afraid to speak up. Is what
That's right,
we're
exactly.
saying.
And with that said, Stephen, we're down to the last couple of minutes. Is there anything you want to say to our audience in closing?
Specifically, just keep standing up for yourselves. Whether or not it's from what type of weed you want to buy, or to, how you're going to advocate for change in your local politician's life. Do what you feel is right. As my dad would say, God rest his soul, be a productive member of your society. Don't sit back and watch the world go by. So
Cool.
please do that, everybody.
Website?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Social plug. Find me at stevenstairs.ca, STEVENSTAIRS, or any of the social medias that you can find. Same place, Steven Stairs. I'm the kind of guy that if you message me on a Monday, we talk on a Wednesday, you may be in my living room sipping coffee by Friday. So.
All right. Good stuff. Get a hold of Steven. He'll help you out.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And thanks to you guys.
And Al Graham, what's going on up there in the Pace Radio world?
Pace Radio world. We have news. We have interviews. We have cannabis information. We have psychedelics as well, including a speaking series. One of our hosts is involved in a psychedelic association in Nova Scotia, and they have a speaker series. So every once in a while, we get one of those speakers, and they will appear on the network.
Cool.
And Time for Hemp, Friday mornings at 10 o'clock.
Woohoo! Thank you. And I got a book in my hand. Where do we find this, Al Byrne?
Well, one of the places you find it is at Colorado State University Archive and Special Collections Libraries. Where also involved, that book is there, and virtually every Time for Hemp show over the last 30 years is already there in their possession, and they are going to make all of that information available to the public as quick as they can, and that includes this show. And so the idea is that the quality of this show, and of course, the three old geezers here, I call us the green geezers, has been identified and given us respect of having these shows archived forever. So the book's in there too, and they were pleased to put it in. So I just recommend all of us and all of the work we've done. We've tried to do it well, and I guess we have. And I want to thank Stephen Stairs for joining us today.
Yeah, no problem.
And your daughter is lovely. Your daughter is lovely.
She's standing there on camera. She's likes to be on camera.
Yeah, there we go.
And I want to thank everybody for tuning into the big broadcast today. Please share us with your friends. That's how we are found, making sound around the internet. And you can also go to timeforhemp.news and download this podcast, and you can download all kinds of music and all past programs, huge archive of information, all about how important it is to take time for hemp.
Look at all that money. Look at all that money. Yeah, the money that they've spent. Take another look and take some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, 'cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for him. Well, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, it's time for hemp. Throughout Earth's history, hemp has been used, no mystery. Hemp was legal to pay your taxes for more than a century. Faxes, the founding fathers make sense to me. It's time to grow hemp legally. Think of all its uses, it's money that's well spent. Right now, no excuses, it's time for hemp. Sustainable green industry, that's our intent. A better place this world will be, it's time for hemp. Fuel and food and clothes and soap, housing, cars, yeah, cars, no joke. Henry Ford built a car of hemp, it's time for us to do it again. People being flowers far with Valentine as it's meant. Right now, it's time for him. Hemp is a true necessity for the wealth and protection of this country. Thomas Jefferson spoke those words, he knew the value of these herbs. Just like birds of a feather, we can work together to live the hemp. Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spend. Take another look and take some time for him. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for him.